Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures. Today we've got the new Gothizzar Harvester, the big Tyranid looking Carnifex-like corpse cart with legs and extra hands and smashy fists. So, as I said, it really reminds me of a corpse cart, the way it's got all the bodies, it's processing and mulching, and it's got the little extra hands, and it's got like carrion birds you can put on top of it, and it's got like little servitor arms. It's just a really funky kit. And I'm curious to see just how many options it actually has available. So, without further ado, what do we got? Okay, instruction booklet. Good size base. First sprue. So you can see here one of the arm options, and then you have the standard you can have on it. So you got these like sickle scimitar arms, and then you got the big smashy fists, which obviously I want to use. I'm assuming those are the actual legs, which are kind of dinky, look like privateer warjack legs, but you know, it is what it is. Looks like the interior of the cauldron grinder on the back. A whole bunch of extra hands. Where are the heads? I don't see the heads anywhere. It does have an extra hand on the tail, which is kind of cool. I'm guessing the heads are all over here. Looks like we have two possible heads. More of a bird, avian-like beaked one, and then the big maw with lots of teeth. Anyway, I'm going to get this sucker started, and let's see how that goes. It looks like we're going to start by building up the body. So the very first step is we're going to build the little guy that sits in the crotch area of our harvester, and he consists of about 3 parts. He's got the main waist torso attachment, his chest, his very pelvic bone shaped head, and then this arm is supposed to go on, but then he has an option set with a severed hand and various things attached to it, or a skull that he can pontificate to. Your choice. Actually, what I'm noticing, and I wanted to point out, was that all of the arm connection points are the same. So even if you wanted, hypothetically, all these other arms, they're all the same length, they all have the same contact point on the opposite side. If you wanted to go wild and put them all over the thing, I mean, you could totally change these around. And in fact, I think if I end up getting another one of these, which is possible, we might end up doing some alternate builds on that. The next step is we're going to build the tailbone, which consists of the hip portion here and then the tail itself that just kind of slots in. Tail is all one piece, and then we're going to attach it to the first half of the body. One thing that bears mentioning is that depending on which way you want the head turned, you're going to have an alternate build for the interior, and I'll show that once I've got all that set up. I haven't figured out which way we're going to go yet with that, but let's get all that put together. So we've gone ahead and attached most of this stuff to the first half of the body, and I wanted to point out a couple of things real quick, that there's nice little markers and indicators on all the parts, like you see this triangle right here to slot in all the parts. When we have to attach the basin of body parts, it's going to just sit on top of these pegs there. I wanted to show you also with the optional parts for which way the neck is facing. It's got like this huge slot that's going to slide in to attach the whole thing and make it nice and stable and sturdy. Same thing for the lower part of the neckline. See, it's got these 2 little plugs. Where I've already gone ahead and glued this, it just slotted in, plugged in, and boom. Same thing with our little helper friend down here. He actually has these triangular gaps right there that everything just kind of sets into, and it's really nice. So the next step is we're going to fill up his base and body parts. We are going to attach the other half of the body, and then finally we're going to cap it off with the fancy armor on top. Let's go ahead and do that. Now we have our body all finished up. It's definitely taking shape, and actually it's kind of cool like that. Just leave it like that, floating with some kind of propulsion system, put another head on top. The next step is we're going to put these, I don't know, shoulder pad things on, and then we're going to put the legs together. The legs are 2 parts. You can't confuse them because the toes don't cooperate with the other side, so that's not going to be a problem. And then after we've got the legs and those attached, we're going to have our choice of heads, and then it's time to put on all the little arms. So here are the two heads. They're just two halves that get glued together. Like I said, this one's a bit more aviary. I don't know, almost like a dinosaur. It has some very draconian lizard-like qualities as well, but this is just like a big alligator maw looking thing. I don't know. I'm probably going to go with this one for now. But as I keep mentioning, I think we're probably going to end up with another one of these at some point in the very near future, so we'll have them all. All right, time for the legs and those armor plates. So you can see now we have the legs and head attached, and we've started putting on some of the arms. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 contact points on both sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there are their suggested versions to put the hands, but honestly and truly, as I was sitting here playing with it, there's no differentiation in terms of how the parts fit in there. You can just stick them wherever you want. I mean, you really can come up with your own, and I love this one. Despite how thin of contact point his little leg is, I'm sure he's going to break at some point. We'll just glue him back on top of that bone there. I wanted to talk about this armor plate. I didn't realize it at first until I actually looked really carefully. There's two little stubs here on his, I don't know, for lack of a better word, shoulder blade, and that's actually where it's going to plug in and sit. So again, while it may not look it, everything really does seem to have a place and lines up quite well in terms of where the parts are all going to go. Same thing with the head. We had a ball joint for the actual head itself, and then this weird neck bone thingy is going to connect on the inside of the mouth there. I don't know if I can get that in focus enough to show, but it is. Seems pretty stable actually, despite his warjack-like legs. The tail in this case obviously is really helping, and I don't know, it still reminds me of a Carnifex. It really is reminding me of a Carnifex. In a good way, though. I like Carnifexes, especially with all these arms. Anyway, I'm going to finish up this side. We're going to put all the other arms on, and then it's going to be time to build his big smashy fists, but we'll show off his blade hands as well. So here you can see that we've got all of our extra arms on there, our extra chest piece, and it's time to actually build the actual big, punchy, slicey hands. And the way we're going to do that, first of all, you have your choice of upper arms, and they look like this. And basically what's going to be determined by their attachment is how wide do you want the arms to open up. So you're going to have a covering with the shoulder pads like that, and then the lower arm is actually going to have the upper arm just kind of slot in like that. So again, it's going to determine, see, it's really wide, or it's much closer if I can figure out how to get that part in. Anyway, the lower arm is going to attach to the bottom. Is this the right arm even? Or no, it's not the right direction. I don't know. I've got my parts all mixed up. That doesn't help. Nope, it was this one. Okay, basically, you have the parts connect like this, and then they slot in. So you have to put the punchy fist, smashy hand, it's two parts, whereas if you take the scything sickle arms, that one you can see it just kind of like so. And that's all you have to do, and then you can attach the upper arm, and you're good to go. But I'm not going to use those hands, so it doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and get that all glued together, and there's just a couple more parts after that. So we are just about finished with our model here. You can see, surprisingly, as heavy as his arms are, he's not completely lopsided. He is still able to keep his balance. A few other parts we still have. We have a random carrion bird who is going to perch somewhere. We have the banner, which I'm not sure if I'm going to attach it yet, just so I can make my life easier. It's obviously going to go right in there, as you can see. And then finally we have a little decorative bit that's going to go on the battlefield of his base. It's supposed to go in the front. I'm probably going to put it in the back. I might grab a couple of the extra Mortec heads that I've got laying around, because I think it might be kind of fun to have some half smashed up ones on the base and, you know, make it look like it's getting to work there. So if you're curious how big this is now that he's finished, despite his I grabbed one of the just about finished, what were they called? Necropolis Stalkers, that's it. And our usual Witch Hunter friend. So it is a good size model. It's not the biggest. Honestly, I kind of like its size. It's just about the right size. It really, really reminds me of a Carnifex. So just to get a sense of scale with a Marine there. I think given how it's all going to go together, you have a little bit of options in terms of making it unique, which is always a plus. The fact that you can really position the hands any which way you want is always cool. The extra little arms everywhere seem very compatible with each other, so if you wanted to mix up how it's getting put together, I think it totally works. And a random Conquest model here, just in case you're curious how that's going to scale. I figured since I've got the Stalker versions already built, I'm going to use these as the defensive guys for the time being. And they pair pretty well with our Harvester friend here as well. So I'm going to get him all nice and primed up, and we're going to hopefully get him painted by the end of this week. Hopefully you found this helpful, and hopefully you are going to make some cool looking, what were they called? Gothizzar? Was that it? Yeah, Gothizzar. I was close. Gothizzar Harvesters as well. With that said, this is High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, and I'd like to thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you later back here. Bye-bye.